Welcome to Baseball Biz on Deck. I am Mark Carbett, and with me today, I have the great good fortune to have Mr. Mike Baluja with me. And you're saying, okay, Mark, are you doing things a little bit differently today? And I would say yes, because we are looking at the Little League World Series coming up. And living here in Tampa, there's quite a bit of history of players that come from here. And Mike Baluja he is Mr. West Tampa as far as I'm concerned. And he's going to be able to share a little bit about the past as far as little leagues that have come up and evolved from there, as well as just some general conversation. A couple other last things I'll say about Mike. And he's a businessman from this area. He's a songwriter. And as far as I'm concerned, you're a baseball historian too. How you doing, Mike?
Good. How you doing, Mark?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here, my friend. And I tell you what, brother, this is the time of year where I get real excited about what's happening with the little leagues, and I'm watching a lot of it on television. But the thing of it is, long before those kids get to Williamsport, there's a lot of things that happen, and a lot of that starts with community. I know West Tampa has been very big with baseball. I mean, you grew up with it. What was it like in West Tampa in the early days?
Well, I was there in the beginning. It was early '60s, and you had a guy named Tony Ciccarello on the show a few weeks ago or a few months ago, and he said it best. There were a lot of families involved, a lot of participation. That's what makes the Little League strong. These days, it's watered down a bit. Some of the leagues, but the more competitive ones are those that do have that participation. They have the benefit of having large memberships, a lot of teams, things like that. Whereas West Tampa has dwindled down a little bit. It's got its peaks and valleys. We do good in some areas for a couple of years, and then we'll fall down. And you know, a lot of things have contributed to that. Just a movement of people from this area out to different other areas in Tampa, and those are part of the reasons that West Tampa has had its struggles over the past couple of decades.
Yeah, and we're talking primarily, I guess, about baseball when you're just talking about the struggles.
Yeah, they're definitely about Little League and baseball and the park itself, West Tampa Little League. Yes.
Now, I know none of us can get away from change. And a lot of times where we grew up, it's like if I hadn't been in Louisville in a while and I go back and drive my old neighborhood or thereabouts, it's like, oh, that favorite corner store is no longer there. Or things that seem like part of the elements of the neighborhood that I grew up with have changed. And sometimes you feel like, well, okay, that had to happen. And other times it's like, my gosh, we're missing so much because of that. And I get a little concerned about that because I think about community baseball and certainly little leagues, and that makes a difference. Looking though from your perspective, you saw little leagues evolve around there, but you also the intersocial leagues were still doing quite a bit in the West Tampa area, were they not?
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'm not absolutely sure of how much the difference is in that on that level, but as I said, the Little League was flourishing at the time that we were growing up. I mean, it was at its peak. You had feasibly three all-star teams in every division, and if you had the good fortune of being in the elite team, you got to go somewhere. But it was a good time in our history, and you're right about the changes. Though I bring those changes to light in a lot of the songs that I do, a lot of the writings that I do. It involves the angst of yearning for a time that was, and I've seen a lot of things change around Tampa over the years, around West Tampa, around Tampa in general.
Yeah.
It's got a whole different face on it than it did 10, 20, 30 years ago, so.
Well, and you think about the folks that made West Tampa what it was in the beginning. You look at all those great players in the Little League, and a lot of that was because when West Ham, a lot of that came from immigrants who came for jobs with cigar factories.
I mean, this city was founded on that industry, and that industry spread from Ybor City to West Tampa. And yes, definitely, we have a lot of cigar families in this area. We've had factories in the West Tampa area until recently that still exist. So yeah, they were a big part of the families. That business, of course, and the markets, food markets, fruit markets. It wasn't just cigars, but that was definitely the predominant business of its time.
Well, it's amazing to me when I look at this, Mike. and I see the type of talent that emerged from West Tampa when it comes to baseball. And I know I was really glad that we were able to speak with Tony Ciccarello about the little leagues a while back. But when kids step out onto that field, I wonder if they realize, looking even all the way to the top of Major League Baseball, who's come out from that West Tampa area, to be at the top of the game. If they could see, if you will, the pantheon of baseball stars that have come from West Tampa, could you rattle a few of those names off for me, or give me a few of those, please?
I will. From my time specifically, I was on a team called the Alessi Bakers, and I was coached by a gentleman by the name of Charlie Rotolo, who was a dear friend of mine throughout life. And his coach was Joe Magadan. Joe had a son named Joe that I played with, and a son that was a bat boy, and his name was David. And David, he did his stint in the major leagues. He was a great major league player, great hitter. What an eye he had. He was patient at the plate, and class act also. He wasn't just a good baseball player, good person, good, came from a good family. That was the one that I'm closest to, I think, of all the ball players from that time. There were others, of course, from the West Tampa area that came after my tenure there. Luis Gonzalez, Tino Martinez, of course, historic players, both of them. From the West Tampa area, Lou Piniella, of course, he's one of the
Yeah.
older statesmen, and Tony La Russa. And let me say, there's one kid that he played a little bit in West Tampa, not much, but he made it there. Michael Givens. He was a good player. He played with the Baltimore Orioles, a few other teams. I think he just retired a few years ago. And those are the ones that come immediately to mind. But if you give me a chance, I'll think of I think some more.
No,
Some
I know. I mean, that's just pretty indicative of when you look at top talent and you think of David Magadan. Geez, my knees, man. The talent and the number of years he's had in the business, and even what it's in coaching, it's it's just spectacular to see that. And then when you have somebody, if there's a young girl, young man who's growing up in the game of baseball, and letting them know, say, hey, right out on this field or right in your neighborhood, this is where some top talent came from. This is a possibility and a future for you as well. I
let,
think. Go ahead.
let me interject real quick because for every David Magadan, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, there was probably 10 players as good or better than David
Oh my
that didn't
gosh.
make it, okay?
Yeah.
And I know a few of them. We had a good, dear friend of mine that was my across the street neighbor. He was a legend of West Tampa. His name was Ricky Alfonso, okay? They used to call him the Cat. I want to say he still holds a home run record over there. He was a man child, brother. Okay, he was a guy that you know he would a great catcher. Great, he could pitch. He could do anything. Okay, but he was a catcher by trade. And this guy was just you ask who the best ball player come out of West Tampa was. A lot of people will come up with that name. Okay, he went on to live in Kentucky, go to a school in Kentucky, college in Kentucky, and he became a Hall of Famer in that college. I don't think he ever spent a whole lot of time in the big leagues or made it to the big leagues. I'm not sure what happened. We kind of separated during that time in our lives, but we reunited over the years and we become close again. As I said, there were a few guys like that. Okay, that David was good, but you never know who's going to emerge from that pool of talent and sustain everything and maintain and continue and get that shot. Okay.
Well, it's good that you mentioned that, because quite often I think of the number of folks who have come up in the minor league and maybe or maybe didn't get a chance to get a cup of coffee in the majors. Who was it? It was Charlie Cuellar. I was looking at some of his history. I mean, he did come up into the majors, but you look at how many years that he spent in the minor leagues or other leagues in the game, and he was a top talent. But
Yeah.
unless you're paying attention, maybe you won't know about him. So I'm really glad you shared that story about Ricky.
He actually one of the big stories with Ricky is his tenure in the high school days. Okay, at the time when I was coming up, I was at Jesuit. Jesuit was not a force back then. Okay, not like they are today. At the time, Tampa Catholic was the force to be reckoned with. And Ricky was the one player, and I think I told you about this in our meeting over here. He was the one player that nearly won a state championship the 4 years he was in high school. Okay. And the one year that he didn't win it, because he was a starting catcher the first year as a freshman on that team, which was unheard of. Okay. He was a starting catcher catching against a guy named or for a guy named Manuel Cioni, who was like, I want to say he was 20-0 that year with a point something ERA. He was
Oh my
a
gosh.
phenomenal pitcher. Okay. And Ricky was catching him. But Ricky went on to win 3 championships at Tampa Catholic. The one year he didn't win, he got rained out. And there was almost a riot when they called that game. Okay, brother. Let me tell you right now, that didn't go easy with that team. Okay. Uh,
Well, you enjoy the game. You hate for something like rain to interrupt a good game.
yeah, no, 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 no. Especially when you're looking to make history. You know what
Oh
I'm
my
saying?
gosh, yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, that's fantastic. And I want to remind folks too, you're a songwriter, and I love to listen to your stuff. I was checking some more on YouTube the other day, and Mike, your music incorporates a lot of, I think, your life in West Tampa. I know. I think one you've done did the theme song, or they use it as the theme song for the Tampa Native show, if I'm correct. But there's other pieces, and it seems like you're capturing West Tampa in your life, and more than just enjoying the game of baseball.
Well, listen, I found out early, and this I talked to you about also in person. I didn't go far in baseball, okay,
Yeah,
and that adversity took me in a different direction. And if it was reflecting and writing, that's where I landed, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be sharing my memories of Tampa, of Ybor City, of West Tampa. I'm 70. I'm almost 70 years old. I'm 68 years old. As some of my friends say, I'm as busy as I've ever been. And I don't let too much time sit under me without trying to be productive, without trying to make something, even with the old songs. See, I get, I just recently did new versions of West Tampa, new versions of Ybor City, updated versions. I've been tampering with a thing called AI, which a lot of musicians are not happy about, but honestly, it can do things that I couldn't do on my own. And it's interpreted some of these songs beautifully. I was working on that just before we started on the new version of Ybor City, and I don't know if you heard that one, but that's another good one. So
absolutely. I'm curious that you say it about AI, because I think of, like, well, from going from acoustic to going to a studio to being able to control different parts of the sound, that we've had different ways we've been able to control how the music sounds over the years without being Milli Vanilli. So,
yeah, yeah. But
and
this puts it on a whole new platform right now because primarily a lyricist, I've always looked for new ways to expose those lyrics to get the message across, whether it be the faith-based music that I do, the locally themed music that I do, whatever it is that I'm working on. I'm trying to find new ways to present it so that it can get to the most listeners, and I can plant the seed, and it can be a fruitful seed. And as I said, I understand the apprehension about the AI, but you know what? It's here. It's here to stay. You better learn how to use it and use it for good.
that's right.
So,
Well, thank you. One song of yours really resonated with me, and "Dear God," I believe is the title. And so, thank you for that. I enjoyed listening to that. But
oh, that's a surprise that you would come up with that. That's that. Now that was slightly before the AI took over, where I was still singing, but I was using professional tracks and cutting them up and doing things so that I got that clean sound out of that. And I love the song that was in my prayer session in the morning. I said, dear God, I said, what a good idea to take off on that,
yeah,
that beginning, and it's a letter to God from my heart, so it was a beautiful thing. I loved it. So.
you can't ask for much better than that. And I've been very fortunate to have people on this show in baseball who faith is a guiding force for a lot of them. And even who was it? Maggie Meidlinger, who pitched for the USA Women's National Team, and amazing, amazing athlete. But at the same time, it was I'll have to get the right name for this. I want to say baseball by heart. Is what it is. It's an organization where, as missionaries, they go into other countries, but Maggie also introduces baseball or helps small little communities, even who want to, young ladies and such, who want to learn the game. So it's kind of neat that she takes baseball along with her faith to other communities. So, uh,
You know,
you,
I find that those players that have a strong faith uh, are more likely to adapt well when baseball's over. Because let's face it, nothing is forever in this life, except for your faith, except for your love, your family. The people that love that is a cyclical thing, a oneness. But really and truly, the the ball players I like best, the athletes I like, the actors I like, are the one with that humility and that ability to connect and not put too much credit into their particular talents. You know
right.
what I'm saying? Because those talents come and they go.
Yeah, and sometimes those talents are the gifts that open a door for us, even if we don't have them the rest of our life. They're opening doors and giving us opportunity to serve others as well. And I know, like I said, I'm not going to go on that roll with that so much. I do want to say, with Maggie's organization she works with, it's baseball at heart. Oh, brother, I tell you, Mike. I mean, while we're talking about community, talking about faith, and about the future too. I mean, you're bringing up, of course, about Ricky and what he achieved and some of the things around him, and it could be somebody that people haven't heard of if they're not there in West Tampa. But there's things now today that have evolved. I mean, if you look around you now, are there family members, are there youngsters that you see that they're enjoying the game as maybe as much as the ones you've seen, say Tony Ciccarello did when he was a kid?
I would say they are in a different way. Even as far as my life is concerned, my adulthood, my children, those were our moments to bond, man. And whether you made it or not, or whatever happens, and to be able to spend an afternoon with your family, going through those struggles, getting a hotel room and staying somewhere, and getting up in the morning and playing somewhere, or going to the park and enjoying the concession stand at the park, watching days full of games, whether it be softball or baseball. That's what life is all about, man. And in
Yeah.
fact, I'm going to point out to one thing that I remember vividly when my son was playing and when we were coming up. Joe Magadan, uh, David's father, used to
Hmm.
go to those games. Okay, his sons were already grown; they had kids of their own, and he used to be sitting up in them stands. And I used to talk to him from time to time. And I vividly remember talking to him one day and telling him those were the best days of his life. Period. Those were the best days growing up with, the kids, the family, the whole 9 yards, because as you grow older, you get older, you start, you hurt here and there,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
things separate, people die. Those were the best days for that guy. It resonated in my heart, and I understood exactly what he was saying.
Well, yeah, that's what I was one day, I guess, more here about because I thought you'd talk about your son in our previous conversation, and you also talked about Batavia. Can you talk a little bit
Oh,
more
no,
about?
listen, that's a long story, but yeah, that's my grandson, Julian. He was playing independent league last year. He went this year, played, had a couple of bad outings. They released him, and he ended up turning lemons into lemonade. He ended up traveling to Batavia, where he was very successful in the collegiate league that he played over there. It was a perfect game collegiate league. And Batavia is one of the more successful franchises there that actually, what these teams were trying to do in that area. It used to be the New York Penn League, okay? And when Major League Baseball, took themselves out of their equation, they had to find ways to fill those stadiums because baseball is a huge part of those small towns.
Yeah.
So they ended up going into the Perfect Game Collegiate League, and Julian was there for the inaugural year in 2020. 2021, excuse me, and he played for 3 years there. He was a fan favorite. Those were good times for him, and the best of times for me watching him succeed at that level. But anyway, so after he got released this year from the independent league that he was in, which that believe it or not, that happens on a daily basis, hourly basis. It's just part of the game. Okay.
Yeah.
It's what have you done for me lately? But anyway, after he got released, he ended up taking a trip back to Batavia and he joined his old team as an assistant coach.
Wow.
And he sat it out through the end of the year, and they made it to the championships. They didn't take it all, but we were hoping, man. And it was a good feeling. It was good to see him in that role. Uh, it was just a different life lesson. We didn't see that one coming, but it came. He embraced it, and it was great. I was watching Batavian Muck Dogs every day. The way I did in 2021, 2022, and 2023. We used to watch them on YouTube every day, me and my wife. Again, bonding. Julian wasn't here, but we got to see him and we got to spend time with him in that hour or 2 or 3 hours that the game was taking place. So, and in fact, the last game that he played, the last game they played over there was a historic game for the league. It was I don't know, I want to say a 5 hour marathon. It was a 17 inning game, brother. Okay. They were locked in for 17 innings and they, do or die. And they finally lost it in the bottom of the 17th inning. Yeah. So
They didn't have a placed player on second, did they, for extra innings
no,
there?
no, no, no. They do that. They do that during the regular season, and a
Yeah.
lot of leagues do that. But because this was a championship game, they decided not to do that. Even though probably in about the 14th or 15th inning, when it was at a stalemate, they talked about doing something like that. And I said, I didn't want to see that. It was
No.
too late for that. Let's go. Somebody's going to score sooner or later, and they did. But we had our opportunities, couldn't capitalize on it, and it cost us in the end. But what a history! It was the longest game in the history of the perfect perfect. What is it called? The Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League. It was the
Wow.
longest game in their history. Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's amazing. I got to tell you, the place. Okay, I'm fine with a place player during a regular season game. I understand, especially if I'm watching a game that starts at 10 o'clock on the West Coast. But
Yeah.
no, during championship or even getting into postseason stuff, it's like no.
Yeah.
Let's keep it real. Well, that's exciting, man. I'm glad you've had that opportunity to be able to watch him, on YouTube, if not in person all that time. That's exciting.
Every time we got a chance to see him on the screen, we were happy. We knew he was in good hands. He was doing fine. I don't know what's going to happen with his baseball career at this point. I don't know if he's going to resume or try. I think he's almost there, but that last little bit takes a hell of an effort. And so you start to second guess yourself. Whether you get released or not, even if you're just floundering in the minor leagues, at some point you start to second guess yourself and say, "Hey, listen, um, it's time to go on with my life."
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know where he's at, and I'm going to pray that everything goes good with him, whatever he does, and I'm going to love him no matter what. So
There you go. There you go. That's fantastic. What position again?
he was a pitcher.
Pitcher.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. Yeah, and last year he was fortunate enough. He had some tough times last year too. Had some good times, tough times. Uh, but they stuck with him, and he stayed there, and he got invited back. But the bottom line is, last year they went from worst to first. By the time it was all over, and they ended up winning their little World Series over there. So he brought back a big old ring, man, this year. And that was part of being there for that ring ceremony at the beginning of the year. He brought a nice ring, man. That thing was, I don't know that I would wear it anywhere because it's, but it was nice.
Oh, well, that's fantastic, Mike.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, come back to your music for a minute. Is there anything you're working on right now?
Like I said, I just generated
The,
a few versions of an Ybor City song that I wrote that I re-recorded back in, I want to say 20, 2015, 2016. I had a guy come in, a guy named Tony Garcia, who has a history here in Tampa. His father was a big time. I'm not sure if he was an agent, but he was somebody well known in Tampa for his activity around here. And anyway, I went to school with Tony. I found out he was a singer. I recruited him to sing, or I asked him to sing this Ybor City song because
yeah.
my voice has its limitations, and I'm all right with it. I go with it, but I wanted a different version. And boy, I tell you what, he nailed it, man. And if you've heard this song, I don't know, it's on YouTube. I don't know that I could do it any better. But as I said, with the AI, it gives me an opportunity to explore. I did a club mix. I did a bolero mix.
Oh,
I did a
wow.
salsa mix. And it's fun to hear these different versions of the song. I mean, I tell you what, I don't know if you can hear this, but
I'm just getting part of it, Mike. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put a link to this, to your songs on the notes of this. And if you don't mind, I'll take one of the songs that you approve. I'll actually just get the audio and I'll attach that at the end as well, if that works for you.
that sounds good. That sounds good. I remember Tampa's probably the one I'm most known for. I've had several versions of that come out, but that's probably gotten the most hits of anything that I've done. It's gone viral on one of the videos. Which got 700,000 hits. Another one's got
Wow.
60 or 70,000 hits. But that's probably my most well-known song, and still the Tampa native shows using it. It's an attractive entry to their show. They've done a good job in providing a great video footage, great elements in the video that introduces the show to the public every week. So I mean, it's there. It's in people's faces constantly, and that's it's been a great ride with that particular song.
Well, man, again, I can't thank you enough for joining us here today. Is there anything special you'd like to cover or some special message you'd like to share with everybody?
There probably is. But you caught me. Who, know- yeah, I'll think of it as soon as I'm finished
That's all
talking to
right.
you. But I guess the faith. Keep the faith, no matter what it is in life. Don't talk about your dreams. Do them,
Mm,
whether they fail or not. Those are things I like to encourage, especially with the writers. Whatever you do in life, a lot of people say, "Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." No. Go ahead and do it, and don't whatever happens, that's fine. The worst thing you can do is not to do anything at all,
yeah.
and not to fail. It's not to do anything at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my encouraging word for the day. Faith in God, faith in love your family, serve your community, and that's the best you can do in this life.
Wow. Well, that's very clear and very it's inspirational, and as well as your music. I love hearing the history as well. Mike, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today, my friend. And with that, Mike, let's wrap up the show with one of your songs here. It's entitled Follow My Dream.
Take me out to the ball game. When I grow up, I'm going far. Yes, I am. I'm gonna be a baseball star. I'll be the man. Learn everything about the game. Yes, I will. I'll make it to the Hall of Fame. Bet I will. I'll burst on the scene. Make all the fans scream. I'll carry my team. I'll follow my dream. Follow my dream. I'll follow my dream. I'll do all I can. I'll do everything. I'll follow my dream. I'll play to win, I take control. That's a fact. Just like Joe DiMaggio. Stay relaxed. I'll be the kid they call the freak. I won't stop. I'll redefine the hitting streak. Show everybody what I got. Yeah. I'll make every play. coming my way. I won't miss a thing. I follow my dream. Follow my dream. Follow my dream. Do all I can. I do everything. I follow my dream. 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 I follow my dream. First on the scene, make all my fans scream. Carry my team, follow my dream. Oh, follow my dream. Follow my dream. Do all I can, do anything. Follow my dream. Follow my dream. Yeah, yeah. Yes, I will. Follow my dream. I'm dreaming still. Follow my dream. Everything